Have you ever found yourself lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, feeling like your mind just refuses to rest? Maybe your body is exhausted, but your thoughts keep spinning. Worries about tomorrow, regrets from today, fears you can't even name. I've been there too. There was a season in my life when every night felt like a battlefield. I would turn off the lights, hoping for peace, but instead, I'd replay every conversation, every mistake, every what if that haunted me. I thought I just needed to be stronger, to think more positively, to somehow fix myself before morning came. But the more I tried to control my mind, the louder it became. One night, in the quiet darkness, I realized maybe rest wasn't something I could force. Maybe it was something I needed to receive. Not from the world, not even from myself, but from the one who promises a peace that surpasses all understanding. Tonight, I want to invite you on a different kind of journey. A journey to let go of what's too heavy for you to carry. A journey to trade your endless worries for deep, holy rest. A journey to discover that you are deeply loved, fully known, and never alone. Not even for a single night. In this video, we won't just talk about sleep. We'll explore why our souls feel restless. We'll learn how gratitude can heal hidden wounds. We'll uncover practical ways to quiet the noise in our minds. And we'll remember the promises that can carry us through even the darkest nights. Before we begin, I want you to know this. You don't have to have it all together to come here. You don't need to fix your thoughts before listening. You are welcome just as you are. Tired, hopeful, messy, searching. So, if you're ready, take a deep breath with me. Let your shoulders drop. Let the tension soften just a little. And as we walk through this together, may you feel seen, safe, and loved. Are you ready to begin? Let's step into the quiet together. Have you ever wondered why the moment we finally lie down, our minds suddenly become louder than ever? All day long, we move through meetings, conversations, errands, always busy, always distracted. But when the lights go out and the world quiets down, the noise inside us starts to rise. I remember a time when I thought nighttime was supposed to be my escape. But instead, it felt like stepping into a room full of unfinished business. I would replay that awkward comment I made at work, worry about an unpaid bill, even remember an old argument from years ago. It was as if my brain had saved every anxiety for this exact moment. Many of us think we're supposed to simply turn off our thoughts like flipping a switch. But the truth is, our minds don't work that way. We carry invisible bags all day. Doubts, regrets, fears. And when everything else fades, those bags suddenly feel heavier. There's also a cultural lie we often believe, that we should be able to fix everything ourselves before we rest. We think rest is a reward for solving every problem, for having it all figured out. But that's not rest. That's exhaustion dressed up as achievement. I met a woman once who shared how she struggled to sleep for years. She believed she needed to earn her rest by being good enough during the day. She would replay every moment, judging herself harshly before finally drifting off in tears. It wasn't until she learned to surrender her day, mistakes, triumphs, all of it, that she finally found true rest. The small lesson here: rest isn't something we achieve by perfection. It's something we receive by grace. So tonight, if you find your mind spinning, remember, you don't have to solve everything before you sleep. You don't have to hold it all together. We're going to talk more about how gratitude can change this pattern, not just as a feeling, but as a powerful daily practice. And I promise, it might surprise you how deeply it can transform your nights. Ready to discover it together? Let's move into the next chapter. When you hear the word gratitude, what comes to mind? Maybe you think of saying thank you before a meal, or writing a quick note when someone gives you a gift. But true gratitude is so much deeper. It's not just a polite gesture. It's a shift in how we see the world. I remember reading a study from Harvard about how gratitude actually changes our brain. It literally rewires the way we process stress, disappointment, and even fear. When we focus on what we have instead of what we lack, our minds begin to find calm in places we didn't think possible. I once met a man named James who kept a small notebook by his bed. Every night, no matter how terrible his day was, He wrote down 3 things he was thankful for. Some nights it was big things like a new job or a friend's kindness. Other nights it was simple. A warm cup of tea, the sound of rain on the roof, or the gentle wag of his dog's tail. Over time, he noticed something amazing. The more he practiced gratitude, the fewer sleepless nights he had. His mind slowly learned to rest in the good, rather than replaying the bad. We often think gratitude is a feeling that comes when life is perfect. But really, it's a practice we choose, especially when life feels messy. It's like lighting a small candle in a dark room. It doesn't make the darkness disappear completely, but it changes how we see everything around us. A small lesson for tonight: gratitude doesn't ignore our pain, but it gives us a new perspective on it. It reminds us that even in the hardest seasons, there is still light to be found. So as we move forward together, I want to invite you to think of just one thing you're grateful for tonight. It could be as simple as the breath in your lungs or the softness of your pillow. Let that small seed of gratitude take root in your heart as we continue. In the next chapter, we'll uncover the hidden weights we carry, the burdens we often don't even realize are shaping our nights. And together, we'll learn how to begin releasing them, one gentle breath at a time. Shall we keep going? Have you ever felt tired, but in a way that no amount of sleep can fix? It's the kind of weariness that seeps deep into your bones, into your spirit. You wake up just as heavy as when you closed your eyes. We all carry invisible burdens. These aren't the bags you pack for a weekend trip or the groceries you haul inside after work. These are the quiet expectations we place on ourselves, the hidden disappointments we've never spoken aloud, the memories that still echo in our hearts long after the world has moved on. I once met a woman named Laura at a small community gathering. She looked strong, confident, the type of person who always seemed to have it together. But as we talked, she shared that every night, she carried the guilt of a friendship that ended badly years ago. She carried the fear that she wasn't a good enough mother. She carried the quiet ache of dreams she once had but never chased. All of it, tucked away, invisible to everyone but her. We often think, if I just ignore it, it will go away. But ignored pain doesn't vanish, it grows roots. It shows up in our restless nights, our short tempers, our anxiety that seems to come out of nowhere. Tonight, I want to invite you to gently name the hidden weights you've been carrying. Maybe it's a mistake you made that still haunts you. Maybe it's the feeling that you'll never measure up, or the silent grief of something you lost along the way. There's a small but powerful lesson here. We cannot heal what we refuse to acknowledge. Naming our burdens is the first brave step toward releasing them. As you listen tonight, take a moment to whisper it, even if it's only to yourself. There's no judgment here, only gentle honesty. In our next chapter, we'll explore what it means to truly surrender these burdens instead of trying to control or fix them on our own. And trust me, learning the difference between surrender and control can change everything about how you rest. Are you ready to take that step together? We all want to feel safe. That's why we make lists, set alarms, plan ahead, and double-check doors before bed. In many ways, control feels like security. But there's a quiet truth we often avoid. Sometimes our constant need to control is what steals our peace the most. I remember a friend named Mark who shared his story with me over coffee one rainy afternoon. Mark had always been the fixer. At work, at home, even among his friends. If there was a problem, he would jump in. If something felt uncertain, he would strategize, analyze, try to shape every outcome. But at night, his mind would turn into a noisy boardroom. He would replay conversations, plan responses, imagine every possible disaster and every possible way to avoid it. Night after night, he lay awake, convinced that if he just thought hard enough, he could prevent anything bad from happening. Then one evening, completely exhausted, he opened his hands in the dark and whispered, "God, I can't do this anymore. I need you to carry this." That small moment of surrender didn't solve every problem in his life, but it transformed his heart. He finally slept. You see, surrender isn't giving up. It's choosing to place your burdens into hands much stronger than yours. It's saying, I trust that you see the whole picture even when I can't. We often confuse surrender with weakness, but true surrender is an act of deep courage. It means trusting that we don't have to hold the whole world together, that it was never ours to hold in the first place. A small lesson for tonight: control might feel powerful, but it is also exhausting. Surrender may feel vulnerable, but it is the gateway to true rest. So as you breathe tonight, imagine opening your hands, even physically if you can. Picture each worry, each plan, each what if, gently placed into God's hands. Feel the freedom that begins to rise in your chest. In our next chapter, we'll learn practical ways to quiet the noise that keeps echoing in our minds, so that we can experience deeper peace than we ever imagined. Ready to keep walking this journey together? After a long day, many of us turn off the lights and hope for silence. But instead of peace, we hear an orchestra of what-ifs, unfinished tasks, old conversations, and fears about tomorrow. It's like a room full of echoes that never stop bouncing. So how do we quiet the noise? It's not about forcing your mind to be silent. It's about inviting a deeper, kinder voice to speak louder. One of the most beautiful tools I've seen is called breath prayer. It's simple. As you inhale, you whisper or think a phrase like, "Be still." As you exhale, "And know that I am God." It's a gentle rhythm that ties your breath to a promise, slowly calming the storm inside. Another practice is the body scan prayer. Lying in bed, you gently focus on each part of your body, from your toes to your head, thanking God for each part and releasing any tension you feel there. It's surprising how much stress hides in our shoulders, our jaws, even our fingertips. There's also meditative scripture reading. Instead of scrolling through your phone, take one verse, perhaps, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Repeat it slowly, letting each word settle into your heart like a warm blanket. I remember a young woman named Sarah who struggled with constant racing thoughts at night. She started using a small phrase each night, "You are with me." It became her anchor, her gentle reminder that she wasn't alone in the darkness. Within weeks, she found herself falling asleep with a soft smile instead of a tight chest. A small lesson for tonight: peace doesn't arrive by accident. It grows through gentle, intentional practices that invite stillness into our lives. You don't need to try all these tools at once. Pick one. Try it tonight. Notice how it feels to let your thoughts slow down, even just a little. In our next chapter, we'll go deeper into why we often avoid emotional healing and how God patiently calls us to real, lasting restoration. It's a journey worth taking, and you don't have to take it alone. Shall we step forward together? Sometimes, it feels easier to keep moving than to sit still and feel what's really inside us. We rush through tasks, keep busy, distract ourselves with screens or noise, anything to avoid the quiet moments where our hearts start to whisper. But why do we avoid emotional healing? Because healing often requires us to look at wounds we'd rather keep hidden. It asks us to face memories that hurt, to admit we're not as strong as we pretend to be. And that's scary. I once met a man named Daniel who carried the pain of losing his father when he was young. For years, he kept himself busy, built a successful career, and tried to be strong for everyone else. But each night, when the world quieted, he felt an emptiness he couldn't explain. One evening, exhausted from the weight of it all, he finally prayed, "God, I don't want to carry this alone anymore." It wasn't an instant fix, but that small moment of honesty opened a door for healing to begin. God doesn't ask us to hide our wounds. In fact, He invites us to bring them into the light so He can heal them. He is gentle with our scars and patient with our slow steps. We don't have to come to Him polished and perfect, just willing. A small lesson for tonight: avoiding our pain might feel safe in the moment, but true freedom only comes when we let God into those deep, hidden places. If you feel a quiet ache tonight, maybe it's grief, regret, loneliness, or shame, know that you don't have to hide it anymore. You can whisper it, cry it out, write it down, and offer it to the one who understands every tear. As we continue, we'll talk about one of the heaviest weights many of us carry: guilt and shame. We'll learn how to move from regret to renewal and discover the freedom waiting on the other side. Are you ready to keep walking this healing path together? Guilt and shame are heavy travelers. They follow us from room to room, whispering in the quiet, showing up uninvited at night when we're most vulnerable. But there's a difference between guilt and shame. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. One points to an action, the other attacks our identity. And while guilt can sometimes guide us to make things right, shame only chains us down, telling us we're unworthy of love or peace. I once knew a young man named Chris who had spent years punishing himself for mistakes he made in college. He believed he didn't deserve rest, love, or forgiveness. His nights were haunted by a chorus of, if only, and I should have. But one night, exhausted and broken, he read these words in Romans 8 verse 1. There is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. That single verse felt like fresh air in a suffocating room. Slowly, Chris began to realize that while his actions had consequences, his identity was never beyond redemption. A small lesson for tonight. You are not the sum of your worst moments. You are not forever defined by that one decision, that one season, or that one failure. There is grace big enough to cover it all. It might take time to fully let go, and that's okay. Healing is a journey, not a switch you flip overnight. Each night you remind yourself of who you really are, loved, forgiven, cherished. You take one more step toward freedom. If guilt has been keeping you awake, tonight can be a turning point. You can breathe out those regrets, release them into God's hands, and breathe in the truth of His love for you. In our next chapter, we'll celebrate the beautiful promise of protection. Stories of how God guards us in ways seen and unseen. These reminders might surprise you, and they'll surely encourage your heart. Are you ready to discover them together? Sometimes we think protection only means physical safety, no accidents, no sudden illnesses, no unexpected crises. But God's protection runs so much deeper. He guards our hearts, our minds, our paths, even when we don't see it. I once heard the story of a woman named Emily who missed her usual train one morning. She was frustrated and late for an important meeting. Later that day, she found out that the train she missed had been in a serious accident. What felt like an inconvenience in the moment turned out to be divine protection. Or the story of a father who, for no obvious reason, felt the urge to check on his sleeping baby in the middle of the night. When he walked in, he found that the baby had turned in a way that made it hard to breathe. His quick response saved his child's life. Was that just a gut feeling? Or could it have been a quiet whisper from a God who watches over every detail? These moments remind us that God is not distant. He is actively involved, weaving unseen threads of safety around us. Sometimes He protects us from what we can see. Other times, from dangers we never even knew were there. A small lesson for tonight. God's protection isn't always obvious. It might look like a closed door, a delayed plan, or a sudden change of direction. What feels like a setback may actually be a safeguard. Take a moment tonight to look back. Can you see the quiet ways He's protected you? The near misses, the changed plans, the unexpected redirections? These reflections build trust. Trust that even when life feels chaotic or unfair, there is a gentle hand guiding us, keeping us from harm we may never even know existed. As we continue, we'll explore how we can replace fear with faith, not just as a one-time choice, but as a daily, intentional practice. Together, we'll learn to walk lighter, braver, and more anchored. Are you ready to step into that next chapter with me? We all have routines before bed, brushing our teeth, setting the alarm, maybe scrolling through our phones until our eyes grow heavy. But what if we turned this ordinary window of time into something sacred? What if, instead of ending our day in distraction or stress, we closed it in quiet connection and peace? I met a woman named Hannah who transformed her nights in the simplest, most beautiful way. Instead of falling asleep with the TV on, she started lighting a single candle next to her bed. She would play soft worship music, write one line of gratitude in her journal, and then pray a short blessing over herself and her family. It wasn't elaborate, it wasn't perfect, but it shifted her nights from chaos to calm. Your nighttime ritual doesn't have to be complicated. Maybe it's keeping a verse on your nightstand and reading it slowly. Maybe it's holding your hands open as a symbol of surrender before you drift off. Maybe it's simply taking 3 deep, intentional breaths and thanking God for carrying you through another day. These small acts become anchors. They signal to your mind and spirit, it's safe to let go now. You are held. You are loved. A small lesson for tonight. Sacred rituals aren't about performance, they're about presence. They're reminders that even the final moments of our day can become offerings of trust and gratitude. If you don't have a ritual yet, tonight is a perfect night to start. Choose one simple thing. A verse, a song, a prayer, and let it guide you gently into rest. As we enter our final chapter, we'll bring everything together with a blessing, a gentle invitation to transformation, a reminder that you are never alone, and that every night can be a new beginning. Are you ready to receive that blessing with me? Here we are at the end of this gentle journey together. You've taken brave steps tonight, acknowledging your burdens, practicing gratitude, learning to surrender, and creating space for peace. That alone is something to celebrate. Before we close, I want to offer you a blessing. You can close your eyes, place a hand over your heart, or simply listen quietly. Let these words wash over you like a soft, warm blanket. May you feel deeply seen tonight, not for what you do, but for who you are. May every hidden ache in your heart find gentle healing under God's tender care. May your worries release their grip, and may your mind rest like a quiet lake at dawn. May you remember that you are not defined by your mistakes, your fears, or your yesterdays. You are loved beyond measure, held even when you can't feel it, guided even when the path is dark. And when you wake tomorrow, may you rise with a lighter spirit, ready to receive new mercies, new beginnings, and new hope. A small lesson to carry forward. Every night is not just an end. It is also an invitation to begin again. You don't have to carry today into tomorrow. You are free to rest, to breathe, to simply be. If these words have touched your heart tonight, I invite you to share in the comments. Maybe type Amen as a sign of faith, or share one thing you're thankful for. I would be honored to read your words and pray for you. Remember, you are not alone. Not tonight. Not ever. May the grace and peace of God wrap around you now and always. Good night, dear friend. Rest well.